Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be a story time video for you. So I have seen loads of story time videos online, some of which kind of seem fake, some of which seem kind of like really tension seeking and stuff like that. But I wanted to do one today that was a bit more kind of personal and a bit more kind of being able to help you basically. So as you can tell by the title, this is going to be a video which has been, in my way, feeling like I stopped a sexual predator from taking a child, but also a video on how I also got followed by him. So obviously I've got to go back to where it was and how it happened and all that kind of stuff. So I was in Brighton, visiting Brighton for my birthday. I was having a really good time and I decided to go down to the pier and go along the pier and everything and take a few pictures. So I was there taking pictures, and obviously the arcade is also on the pier and everything. So I opted to go into the arcade, to go on some of the machines, to take some pictures and all that kind of stuff. And while I was in the arcade on the 2p machines, because they're my favourite arcade game ever to play, I was on the 2p machines and I turned around and looked to the side of me and noticed a little girl with a man holding her hand. Didn't think much more of it, you know, for child and bloke, that's absolutely fine. But I smiled at the child. Now, I'm a really happy person and I obviously adore children. I'm quite a motherly person myself, so whenever I smile at a child, I tend to always smile at the adult as well who's with them, because obviously you don't want to look weird and you don't want to look kind of odd to people. So I smiled at the little child and then I looked up and smiled at the gentleman. Now, the first thing that I noticed about this, it didn't ring alarm bells or anything like that, but was the fact that the child was white and the gentleman was half caste. So nothing wrong with that. It might be stepdad, it might be, you know, adopted, I don't know. But that's the first thing that I noticed, and I was like, I didn't think anything more of it or anything like that. But after I smiled at the bloke, he looked at me in a way which was kind of like, it wouldn't be a smile that a family man would give a person basically. So I was 23 at the time, and it wasn't a smile that you should normally give to another person if you've got your children with you. So I then kind of stood here and I could see him in front of me, and after I'd smiled at him, he dropped the little girl's hand, which I didn't think anything more of it or anything like that. But then the little girl looked really worried, started looking around and ran off. So then I thought, oh, like, is he going to go after her or anything? And the first thing I noticed was she ran over to this family and they all kind of went, there you are, where have you been? And I was a bit like, okay, that's a little bit shady, you know, like, why would she run up to another family and they kind of like claim her in a way? So I didn't want to question it, didn't want to think anything more of it, but I honestly truly believe that I stopped a sexual predator at this point. He was on his way out of the building, like out of the amusement arcades, and he had this little girl in his hand, and it was really obvious at that point she wasn't with this bloke. So at that time, I'm going to sound really awful and really bad, I didn't know what to do myself. Like, I didn't know like how to deal with that situation. So most people will be shocked by this, but I did completely ignore it. I did completely ignore the situation. I thought, you know what, the little girl's with her family now, the bloke's going off to do his own thing, I don't really care. Like, I'm just going to ignore the situation because I don't know what to do within that situation. So that's the first part of the story. The second part of the story is what happened after this situation. So I then continue playing on the amusement arcades. The bloke at that point has completely disappeared. I don't see him, so I'm thinking, you know, he's just walked off. So it's only when I go to leave the amusement arcades that he comes back into my view. And I've realised that the whole time he's actually been behind me playing on some games, watching me. So I go to leave the amusement arcade and I just think, I'll just leave him, you know, I'll go off. So as you leave the amusement arcades, there's quite a few little fairground rides. So I attempted to walk around the fairground rides to kind of like get him off my tail basically, because every time I turned around, this bloke was following me. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do in that situation or anything like that. So I naturally went into a pub. I've always been told in situations like that, it's best to be around people. It's best to be kind of in a social situation. So my first thought was, a pub is a social situation. I'm old enough to drink. I'm just going to go into the pub. Let me just close the curtain because the sun's come out. But the first thought was to go into a social situation. So I walked into this pub and he followed me in. ordered myself a drink and I walked outside. So as I walked outside, I thought, I've just got to find myself in a social situation basically. So I walked over to a group of girls that were there and I sat down and I just said, is it okay for me to have a drink with you? There's a bloke following me, I just need to get him away from me. They were amazing, super lovely, really, really nice. The bloke came out and sat down, had his drink. I sipped my drink, so he had to kind of like leave before me. And he got up and he left. Now, at this point, I was like, oh, thank God, you know, he's gone. And I waited around 10 minutes before I opted to leave the pub. So I said thank you to the girls and I was really, really grateful to them. And I was like, that's really, really nice of you and everything. And after 10 minutes from him leaving, I then left the pub. So as I went out, I didn't see him, like, if you've ever been to Brighton, you will know that the pier is very busy. So I didn't see him at all. I didn't think anything more of it or anything like that. And I started to walk up to leave the main amusement arcade area. So as I started walking up, I turned around to take a picture of the sea, because when you're leaving, the sea's behind you basically. So I turned around to take a picture of the sea and I see him again. And he's there walking again. And now, at this point, he's not actually doing anything, so he's not smiling at me. He doesn't make an attempt to come up and talk to me. He doesn't make an attempt to kind of like speak to me or anything like that. So I didn't know what to do in that situation. So I started to leave the pier, and then the thought dawns on me that the pier is like the busiest place in Brighton. It's the safest place, and now I'm leaving and I'm going to like the main streets where he can talk to me and he can approach me. So I then panic at the thought of this, and I opt to go up to one of the, not the police officers, but the police support officers. And I opt to go up to this person to report him, because I was like, I didn't know what to do. So I walked over to the police officer and the police officer supportman, and I turn around to make sure he's still in my eye view, and he's completely gone. The moment I go anywhere near this police officer, this bloke has gone. Like, and I mean, I turned around because I didn't speak to the police officer. I turned around and I looked for him. Like, I walked back, I looked for him, and the pier's only a small pier, so we'd only have to go two ways, you know, back to the amusement or onto the actual beachfront, and I couldn't see him at all. So after that, I obviously left the beach pier. Everything was fine. He didn't follow me, didn't manage to track me down or anything like that. But that is kind of like my little story time for you. So there is an actual message behind this, and it's always, if you're in a situation like that, please approach a police officer or one of the police support officers. You're not going to look stupid, you're not going to look, you know, silly or anything like that, but I always see myself as a strong person. Let me just, now the sun's gone back in, sorry about this, the sun keeps going in and out. But I always see myself as a strong person. I always see myself as being good in those situations. And I obviously wasn't. So the best option is to always approach a police officer or police supportman or somebody in the pub. Now, I obviously approached the girls in the pub, but what I should have done was go to the barman and say, I don't actually want a drink, but someone's following me. Can you do something about it? So it's always best to do that situation. And from the first situation with the child, if you're worried about anything or if you're concerned or anything like that, your best option is to like always report it. I should have reported this gentleman there and then. When that little girl had ran back to her family and when like the alarm bells were ringing, I should have reported him there and then. This person has got away with it, like this time. Like, I couldn't find him. Like, I'm guessing the police officers couldn't have found him. There's probably cameras, obviously, but I couldn't see him or anything like that. I was only 23, I was very naive, and I didn't have the knowledge that I do now. So I wanted to do this storytime video just to kind of like raise awareness of the fact, also give out the story obviously because it's quite like a good one. But yeah, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share and all that jazz. Hopefully this has helped out some people to know that you're not weak if you do report anything, or to know that it's perfectly normal to and it's perfectly acceptable to, but also just to kind of raise awareness as well that even though you're in a really fun situation, these things do still happen. So yeah, I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then give it a thumbs up, and I shall see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.